So then let's talk about women and testosterone, their levels and how that works.
Yeah. So testosterone is foundational in women. It's not optional. Okay. And I think that's just, again, emphasizing the importance of it. It drives sexual function, mood, energy, confidence, and metabolism.
All the same things it does in men.
All of those things.
It's amazing.
Shockingly, yes. And I think what's interesting in women, it's not so much about, that aggression and things like that. It's really that without it, when it's low in women feel kind of disconnected, kind of dimmed, flat, not necessarily depressed, but a little more flat. Okay. When women typically, have their free their free testosterone checked. So yeah, when women, have the optimal level of testosterone, you often hear things like, I finally feel myself again. So it really comes from, why is that the case? Because testosterone is known as the male hormone. Okay. But we know that women need it just at a different level. So I think what's important to understand when we get into, we'll kind of start with the testing, maybe some of the drier stuff here to start, but free testosterone is the only meaningful number. Okay. Total testosterone is kind of a blunt, misleading number.
Okay. So you're saying there's multiple numbers that you might get from a testosterone test.
And a lot of times, and we'll kind of go into, more into why and maybe how it occurs, but total testosterone is what's most likely to be checked. And again, we're speaking specifically about women here. Okay. So we want to extrapolate this out. This is for women. But total testosterone includes testosterone that is bound to sex hormone binding globulin. We'll call it SHBG and albumin. Okay. Bound testosterone is inactive.
Okay.
All right. And women typically have high levels of SHBG. Okay. So if you test total and you've got a woman with high SHBG, and we'll get into maybe what can cause that and why it's so common, normal levels of total, not normal from a symptomology standpoint. Okay. Free testosterone is what's free and active, able to do its job. Okay. That reflects the true biological activity. That's the direct correlation with libido, energy, motivation, workout response, mood, drive, emotional resilience.
Okay, so if you're getting tested, the only number that really is relevant is the free testosterone.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So, and what's also critical here in the lab itself, and what labs are done, immunoassays. We won't go into the technical stuff, but immunoassay is the standard testosterone test. Okay, if you just order. Your doctor just prescribes you to have your testosterone tested. It's specifically not going to have to mention that it's an immunoassay, but that's the default. So that's typically what's done unless it says otherwise. Chromatography, so we'll just again use abbreviations, LC or MS. That's the gold standard. Okay, it's highly sensitive at low concentration ranges, which given what we're dealing with in women versus men, and that's why, again, this is a women-specific discussion about the importance of how it's done. That's the gold standard. That's what's used in research and in HRT clinics and precise labs. So you can go to Quest with, or your standard major lab with a prescription for testosterone to get your blood work drawn. They're going to use immunoassays typically unless it's specifically noted. And so if you have results currently and you're looking at them, if it doesn't say that it was LC or MS, it is an immunoassay. And the issue with that, again, is that it is essentially not a very worthwhile number. And so you may be told that your numbers are fine. So we've got the layer of the total versus free.
Right.
Maybe even you got the free. If it's the immunoassay, it doesn't hold as much weight. It's not the gold standard of testing.
Is that true also for men, just out of curiosity, or because they're higher concentrations, is it more reliable for a man?
It is. And again, I not going into the details of that now because I'd like to kind of have that for a separate, but it's much more because of the sensitivity.
Right.
Basically can just mean it can
very low
more
levels.
Accurately test very low levels. It's more important.
Okay. All right. So LC or MS, you want to see that specifically on your test.
Yes, exactly. So back to the SHBG.
Sex hormone binding globulin.
Yes. That high SHBG is what silently, and when I use the word silently again, because the total does not take that into account. So your total may be high, but if your SHBG is high, that's silently destroying the libido and energy, et cetera, that you get with testosterone. So it has a high affinity for testosterone. And so you're going to have the lower free test. Okay. And then I think what's critical here is you say that's kind of, it means something, but what do you do with that? What causes high SHBG? Birth control pills.
Oh.
Okay. SSRIs.
Okay.
Thyroid issues, including low free T3, low protein intake, excessive alcohol intake, chronic stress.
Wow.
So the magnitude of what causes those, can vary, but just look at the things that were named that elevates SHBG in women. Significant. So again, back to tie it together. If you're getting just a total tested, not the free, that is why it's so important, because the factors that raise SHBG are so significant and prevalent.
Yeah. That list is kind of that hits a whole lot of folks.
Exactly.
Wow.
And then the kind of last layer on the testing is that free T3 is really in the high normal range. And we talk about that with the hormones a lot. This is not about, we really want you to be way above. No, we're looking at the normal range, but the low end of the normal range versus the high end, there can definitely be a significant difference, even though you're still in the normal. 2 to 4 is really where you want to be to kind of restore that energy, mood, strength, libido, etc.
Okay, so 2 to 4, that's the number you're looking for?
Yes.
What is it, 2 to 4 what?
It's 2 to 4 picograms per ml.
Okay.
Yes. Right. Yeah, but that can certainly be important, but yes.
And you said that's the higher end of what's considered normal
range. Yes. So we're not talking about super therapeutic levels.
Does it change over as like, I know for men, your testosterone levels can kind of naturally decline as you age. Is that true for women as well?
There are some changes as we go. Yes. Not nearly to the extent that men experience, both either in magnitude or in percentage, but yes, it's a factor. There's obviously a lot of hormonal changes going on in women. So we touched on this already, but chronic cortisol suppresses ovarian function, which suppresses testosterone function. Stress also raises the SHBG. Mm-hmm. Dieting, extremely low fat eating. Yep. Testosterone does require cholesterol to be made. So if you're on an extreme, again, we're talking extreme low fat eating, that's going to have an effect as well. Overtraining probably doesn't apply to nearly as many people, but constant cardio, constant cortisol. So it's really overtraining in that realm, in the cardio realm, suppresses androgens. Strength training, which we'll get to, does the opposite.
Yes.
Okay. So complete flip there. Again, we're talking about women, but there certainly are some parallels.
Yep.
Low vitamin D, low zinc, low iron, low magnesium, all can contribute to decreased androgen synthesis as well. So there's, again, a lot of factors of how the level gets out of whack in women.
Okay. I'm kind of struck by the things you're saying, the number of ways that women can start to develop and experience the lowered testosterone effects. It's kind of overwhelming, and it seems like that might be almost a, dare I say, ubiquitous issue in society.
And we try to stay in the middle here, typically. And so I'm the things I've read already about some of the symptoms of low T in women. I'm going to read them again, kind of to emphasize, but this is not, well, that's the answer to everything. I want to emphasize because I'm saying these important things and they are a factor. Still don't want to, have this be the headline that, just get your test checked and everything's fine.
Right.
But I just like kind of tying everything together. You may be on or have a history of being on oral contraceptives. You may also be on SSRI or one or the other. High stress, again, I know that's normal. Your thyroid may be something you've always been working on. Then when you add in the symptoms with it, it can just be a piece to the puzzle. So low libido certainly is a major one. Fatigue. And it's back to kind of that like flattening that women feel when their testosterone is very low, can often be labeled as depression. A lot of times women are also going through the other changes hormonally in life, which can contribute and muddy this whole thing. But overall, it still can be, maybe a help to you instead of straight to the SSRI if it's more of the fatigue and kind of that flatness. Brain fog, again, is often dismissed as like that early menopause but it can also definitely have a relationship to both your testosterone level and thyroid as well.
Well, and just because it's early menopause doesn't mean it's not low testosterone. That's what's happening is all your hormones are fluctuating and changing, and that makes sense. Okay,
yes.
Keep talking. Sorry.
Muscle loss, again, is typically blamed on hormonal changes other than testosterone, blamed on aging. Certainly there's a factor as we're aging and maybe you haven't been doing any strength training for maybe what was 5 or 10 years, turns into 10 or 20 before you know it. That all plays in, but androgen decline certainly is playing a role on top of the obvious one, lack of resistance training. Again, the flatness is a major thing. This isn't just, mood. It's related potentially to what's going on with you biologically.
Yeah. Wow. So lots of women probably being treated with medications when they just need to have some metabolic tests done,
yes.
some hormone tests done before jumping to these conclusions.
Yes. And I think too, there's a whole kind of list I have here about whenever you get these hormones tested, that if it's a more comprehensive panel, that you can really start to pin down exactly what's going on. And I don't think maybe some of those details are necessarily all that important, but just understanding that the interplay with these hormones is critical. We talked about the total testosterone being related to the SHBG, and that free is really what matters. DHEA, if you have your DHEA leveled, which is another form of androgen, a much lower potency one, can show, if there's a major stress contribution. I mean, again, we all feel stress, but what's going on with your body adrenally and hormonally? How much is it having a lab provable impact? Free T3 critical as well. Estrogen and progesterone, it gives you a whole picture of what's going on. Also, so again, iron levels that we talked about can be related to energy. So when you have, I guess my ultimate point here is that working with a practitioner who is comfortable in this realm to not just know maybe what testosterone test to do, the LSMC, but also just understanding the interplay, and that maybe if the free T3 is being checked and we're dealing with some of the estradiol, that you can start to correct this as a puzzle versus just throwing the testosterone piece. You kind of hear this and just jump right into, oh, I want this testosterone checked. Well, there may be, instead of just adding testosterone, maybe as a supplement or compound or whatever, that there's some things you can do to maybe get the whole picture, the whole puzzle better.
Makes sense. That makes sense. Knowing these numbers, having these sorts of measurements is so critical. You can't, what gets measured gets managed is what I've heard said in the business world, but I mean, that makes sense here too.
Yes. So, I think what ultimately this is leading to is get your hormones checked, maybe go on some BHRT replacement therapy. And it doesn't necessarily, there's nothing wrong with doing that. But there are some other ways that you can at least help your body to naturally have increased free testosterone. So one way is by reducing that SHBG, because even if your total testosterone don't get any movement there, you're not supplementing, putting on a testosterone cream or anything. If you can lower the SHBG, then by default, you are increasing the free available testosterone. More lean protein is a critical one.
Yep.
SHBG stabilizes in protein-fed states. Healthy fats are critical as well. Correct thyroid issues, for especially free T3, iron deficiency, get that corrected. These all are going to lower SHBG and then ultimately increase what's available in the free test. Reduce alcohol, reduce SSRIs, make sure that it's clinically appropriate. We're not against them by any means for any purpose, but at the same time, if it's maybe something that hasn't been giving you the benefit, especially if it's more for that fatigue, for that flattening, if you have not been getting the benefit, maybe now reevaluate if it's clinically appropriate and maybe start to deal with things more hormonally at a base level with your diet, with resistance training, start to put it together that way, because maybe you're taking a medication that's making those things worse potentially if that wasn't the actual cause. And it can just be a time to reevaluate, again, just based on what you're taking it for. Okay. Strength training is critical. Free testosterone rises when your muscles are demanding estrogen signaling, period. So I know for a lot of women, it's difficult to kind of jump into that, There's a lot of available resources. It doesn't have to turn into free weights and big weightlifting. That's more Dante's wheelhouse. But I think just understanding that doing some type of resistance, some type of training is going to make a major impact, not just related to what we're talking about, but across your health spectrum.
Yeah, osteoporosis and osteopenia, also your blood sugar, all those things. Yes.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So again, I think healthy fats, again, testosterone is made from healthy fats and healthy cholesterol. Low fat diets, are definitely something that's still very prevalent. So just understanding it's not about, eating a bunch more red meat. It's eggs, salmon, avocado, those, have some source of cholesterol in them and have the healthy fats. Sleep is critical as well. Stress, this is men and women. Stress and poor sleep kills free testosterone. DHEA in women converts to testosterone. In men, it just doesn't do enough to make any type of impact. But for women, 5 to 10 milligrams can just be a direct way to take a precursor. It can also help with adrenals as well, to help balance out cortisol. Remember, DHA and cortisol are those that you want to have kind of in counterbalance to each other.
Yeah.
But even without testing it, if you do a low dose, like a 5 milligram, it converts to testosterone in peripheral tissues, can be an option. If you are already postmenopausal, because of, again, DHA's role as a precursor, you can go up to more like 15 or 25. So just depending on what stage you're in, early stages, more 5 to 10. If you're in that post-menopause phase where you're not making nearly as much across the board, you can go up to 15 or 25.
Okay, so if I'm hearing you correctly, we're talking about this because, obviously testosterone in women does not get anywhere near as much attention as estrogen in women does.
Yes.
And even that doesn't get nearly enough attention, but nevertheless, testosterone is a major component in everybody's health, but for women, it can have all these downstream effects. Lots and lots and lots of things can affect not just your testosterone levels, but also the SBGH levels, which then counterbalance your testosterone levels. All of these things need to be considered, taken into account. You have to get your testing done to find out where your levels are. And while supplementing with testosterone, compounded or something like that might be a great solution, for a lot of people, it might not be necessary because there are all kinds of other things, lifestyle things, supplemental things that can be done to help reduce your SBGH levels and increase your free testosterone and help get you that joie de vivre, that
look at this
coming alive
up.
thing.
Did I
do it? Did I do it?
Absolutely.
Yes.
Joie de vivre.
And I know he had mentioned it, but I didn't want this to turn into, well, the testosterone's a big problem. So the only thing, if you're feeling any of these symptoms, that you just need to go get it checked and get it that may be where you go.
Right.
But just understand the whole puzzle and understand that sleep, that reducing alcohol consumption, that maybe an oral contraceptive that you're on or an SSRI is contributing. Eating more protein, eating more healthy fats, and number one, strength training, some type of resistance training. All of those can help to, they're going to help with testosterone alone, but they're going to help a lot more than that. But just reevaluate these things and understand. And then the next layer is, there's nothing wrong with going to a practitioner that will test them properly, look at the whole picture. And again, we're not talking about, boosting androgen, boosting testosterone to the point where, you're in these levels that are pushing men. We're talking normal. The most controversial thing about the level I mentioned was that it's on the high end of the normal. That's all we're talking about here.
Right. Yeah, the difference in levels between men and women cannot be overstated. It's orders of magnitude.
And we're still saying that the women level's fine. Just research shows just at the high end of it. That's all.